To date, it's been sham nonprofits that are using the bill to purchase a property for a benefit without helping the people that it's intended to help.
The Weekly Friedman, your source for the most essential information in the default industry, with your host, Adam Friedman.
We're back today with everybody's favorite New Jersey topic, the Community Wealth Preservation Program. There's a proposed revision on the table that aims to address certain rising fraud concerns and respond to constitutional challenges from junior lien holders. I'm joined today by Friedman Vartolo partner, Catherine Ponte, who will help us walk through this proposed revision and what it can mean. How's it going, Kat? Thanks for joining me again.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. All right, so the Community Wealth Preservation Program, proposed revision. Why is there a revision?
There's currently a constitutional challenge in the courts that's pending based upon the current enacted legislation.
And to be clear, it's not done yet, right? But the revision is proposed because of this constitutional challenge.
Also arguable because of the fraud that is going on right now through the second right of refusal being exercised by nonprofit community corporations.
Who drafted this revision?
Senator Timberlake is the sponsor for the bill.
Let's just say the revision, as it stands right now, is fully pushed through, right? It takes effect. What would happen?
It would change the program substantially. Some of the big key takeaways are, for example, the right of redemption would go from a 10-day period to a 90-day period. It removes the right of first refusal for tenants, so a tenant couldn't exercise the right of first refusal. The nonprofit community corporations, how they're able to find eligibility to exercise the second right of refusal would change. For example, they'd have to have a written agreement with the holder of the first right of refusal. And there are some other larger things in the bill as well.
You pointed out a bunch of highlights from these revisions. I want to focus on two. The first I want to focus on is the right of redemption. So what's the right of redemption right now in New Jersey?
It's 10 days.
10 days. And this will extend it to 90 days in every sale. Now, I think that when you think about the right of redemption, it sounds harmless, right? What it does is it enables a foreclosed upon dependent to basically buy back the property, but for the judgment amount, 10 days post-sale,
Yes.
right? Changing it to 90 days doesn't sound problematic. Do you think it's problematic?
Yes, it is problematic.
Why?
Because title's not transferring for the 90 days. So the obligations are still upon the foreclosing plaintiff to maintain the property, pay the taxes, which will basically come due within the 90-day period. Any other maintenance that has to come.
Okay, because even if it's going third party, we can't convey title to someone if the right of redemption still exists, because who's going to take title when the foreclosed defendant can come in and just buy the property back?
Well, the sheriff is also not going to execute the deed and convey title before the 90-day period has expired.
Okay, so we're creating an additional 80-day period of total uncertainty, right? The deed won't change hands, and there's a lot that goes into that. You could have municipal problems, the lawn has to be mowed, a lot of things will now happen. I think the second thing you mentioned was that tenants would be removed from the second right of refusal.
The first right of refusal, yes.
The first right of refusal. Any ideas the rationale for that change?
It's not clear, but if I was speculating, it would be because the statute is intending to protect the borrower and the occupants to remain in the property. So if the second right of refusal is exercised, there would be a mandatory lease agreement, essentially, that would have to be worked out with whoever is exercising the right of second refusal.
Okay, and then the final one you mentioned was some added restrictions or refinement on how nonprofits can use their right of refusal, which I imagine is stemming from the fraud that we've seen associated with nonprofits.
Yes.
So what would happen exactly?
So to exercise the right of second refusal, the nonprofits would have to essentially enter into a written agreement with the holders of the rights of the first refusal. It's essentially a lease agreement, how long they can stay in the property, the amount at an affordable bench rate, some eviction protections. And then assuming that they have that agreement, they also have to be on the eligibility list with the state to be a nonprofit that's eligible to exercise the right of redemption. They would get the 3.5% down over 90 days, and then they would have a deed restriction for 30 years on the property.
I don't do this often, but anyone watching this video that knows of any nonprofits that have been using this right to purchase foreclosures in the state of New Jersey for affordable housing purposes, put it in the comments, because one thing I'm interested in tracking here is I get the concept of restricting the fraudulent nonprofits, but presumably that's a restriction to limit the bad actors. The good actors should still be here. I feel like what we've seen with this bill is there may not be that many nonprofits that are going to engage at foreclosure sales, purchase properties, use these protections, and then turn them into more affordable housing. I could be wrong. I just would like to see if there are a bunch of nonprofits out there that are using this ability.
It will be interesting to tell because to date, it's been sham nonprofits that are using the bill to purchase a property for benefit without helping the people that it's intended to help.
Right. I mean, if it works, it's great. I just think that it's a lot of work and a lot of brain power going into something that may be created to assist organizations that may not exist or may not capable of using these rights. So it'll be interesting to track. Look, I appreciate it. I think this is definitely a very important piece of legislation for the state of New Jersey. I think it's exciting it's being revised. I think we were hoping the revision would bring a little bit more clarity to the bill and maybe be a little bit more pointed in what they were doing. But either way, I really appreciate you filling us in kind of on where it stands.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining Catherine Ponte and I on the Weekly Friedman, your source to the most essential information in the default industry. Thanks for tuning in and looking forward to seeing you next time.